if life is dynamic, then it is compulsory, automatically almost compulsory for me to deal in terms of goals, of purposes, of pursuits. And I become increasingly conscious of the fact that I can hold in focus a purpose until that purpose becomes related to my nerve center of consent. And when my nerve center of consent becomes related to the purpose, then there is created through this opening in me, which is my nerve center of consent, that which draws upon all the vitalism and the dynamics of the universe. That's why when a man is related that way, you can discourage him, never. You can hit him across the head. You can starve him out. You can do all sorts of things. But whatever you're doing can't get over into where he's operating. It's like this, I've told you about him many times, but I like to talk about this feeble-minded puppy that I had, who it was in the years when I was teaching down in Atlanta, Georgia, and the students would come over to the house, and he was just a little puppy, and everybody liked him. But he didn't know that. He didn't know anything. See him, but he was alive. And he'd jump up on you and scratch your stockings. And then you'd push him off. He'd jump up again. And then you'd take a little newspaper and strike him. And he would yell as he jumped back up on you. I mean, nothing ever got over to where he was. If you put your hand in his mouth, he bit you. I mean, he didn't, you know how dogs do. They soon learn how to pretend to bite, but he didn't. He just chewed away. I mean, it was nothing ever seemed to get over into the area in which he was operating. Well, now that's the thing that happens when. Now get the process, because it's very important that we understand this. When the goal, the purpose of your life becomes related to your nerve center of consent. And it means that it has to be held there until it catches. And the thing that inspires the mind with confidence in doing it is that the awareness all around us that we operate in a context that is itself dynamic. And when I hold it there and when it catches, then energy, live energy, if I may be redundant, somehow becomes readily at my disposal. And the effect of that energy illumines my mind, gives me fresh attacks, gives me new dimensions of awareness and meaning and overtones and values. And it seems that my life now begins to take on a significance. And I become, for the first time in my life, a humble human being, because now, with this in focus, I see what kind of person I must become in order that in the living of my life I do no violence to this thing that has become now one with my nerve center of consent. And I discover that in my own way, in my own way, in my own way, in my own way, I am becoming religious. That a new kind of reverence begins to move over my life. And my values are now measured by their relevancy to this. Now let me hasten to say before I stop that do not be discouraged by what I'm saying. That because you think that I'm thinking about some great big vision of something, some great overwhelming goal like, I can think of one like a world government or some other tremendously dramatic something. No, that may be. But I'm talking about what is within the reach of each one of us. Suppose you say, what is available to me in terms of a goal is that I shall make of my life something beautiful. That's all. Something beautiful. So that all who touch my life will somehow be lifted up and strengthened. Not in any pious way, but when they touch my life, they find themselves responding to life. That they find themselves just a little more in possession of themselves, just a little heartier, a little happier, a little less discouraged, nothing dramatic, but just a little less discouraged, just a little more hopeful, just because they've touched my life. Suppose a simple thing like that is your goal. Not to become a saint. Of course, I think you would, but not to become a saint. Not to have any heroics. I don't mean that. But just where you are, with your own burdens, with all the enclosures of your life, with all your routines, all your cares, all of the duties that enmesh all your feeling tones, just where you are. Suppose there, with this thought in mind about the dynamics of the universe, suppose there, without changing a single thing in your situation, without changing a single thing in your environment, without altering anything except the shifting to your center of focus. The real possibility that you, where you are, can become a whole human being. And that you can hold that possibility before you with such intense clarity and no fever, intense clarity, until at last the fluid center of your purposes begins to take it into account more and more, more and more, more and more, until now, when you aren't thinking about anything, you find yourself moving in that direction. When you are thinking about something, you find that you relate it to that. And then in the moments when you're quiet, and if you are consciously a religious person, in the moments when you pray to God, you stop burdening him with all the recitals of your burdens, filling the time with all your hostilities. Instead, it becomes a time when you check the rhythm of the fluid center of your purposes. You check it, that's all. Check it. And once the rhythm of the fluid center of your purposes is a part of the great movement that undergirds and bottoms life itself, then prayer at such a time becomes renewal, it becomes refreshment, it becomes a heightening of perspective, it becomes all those things. And when you come out of it, your feet hit the sidewalk in a new way. And there's a light in your face. That had never been on land or sea before. Tremendous. And I'm very grateful to God that nobody, however humble and simple and limited, nobody needs suffer from a sense of complete and utter futility in a world that is dynamic, a world held in God's hands. So get up off the ground. Lift up your head. All of the resources of God are yours. But you have to work at it.